What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Officer Nate podcast, and this time we are live. Joining me today is a special guest. She went from salon owner to published author and public speaker after the Oregon state government tried to target her and attack her for simply trying to work and pay the bills and support her family. You might know her as the Patriot Barbie. Joining me today is Lindsey Graham. What's going on, Lindsey?
What's going on? I just love that, the whole Patriot Barbie thing.
That's a great nickname.
It really is, and I have to tell you where I got it from.
Do it.
You want to know?
Yeah.
I didn't label myself the Patriot Barbie. I'll tell you that much. So it was after me. And a leftist made a meme out of my face wearing my MAGA hat. And she wrote, "I don't always play Patriot Barbie, but when I do, I kill grandmas and steal people's money," something like that. And I posted the definition of patriot and the definition of Barbie on my Facebook. And I was like, I don't know, guys, this doesn't really seem like an insult. And they were like, "You're Patriot Barbie." And so almost just to like poke at her, I changed my public page to say the Patriot Barbie. I got a logo, and it's become a thing. So
I like it. Yeah. Although I was thinking more like Patriot Wonder Woman, because of the dark hair. How tall are you?
5'8".
Okay, so you're fairly tall.
Yeah. And it's funny you should say that, because I was Wonder Woman for like 3 years in a row for Halloween, and it was like I actually used to have black hair before I stopped owning a salon, and now I don't color my hair. But so I was Wonder Woman for 3 years in a row, and everyone's like, "Yes, you're totally Wonder Woman." So it's like, well, okay, I'm some kind of American girl.
You're patriotic no matter what. And I like you're breaking up again. I can't. You're frozen. I'm gonna have to wait a second until you come back.
Okay. Until you find me.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think we're back. I can hear you. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I sway that way, because if I just sit here waiting, it's like
wave back and forth, like you're part of a beauty pageant parade or something.
Hello, Patriot Barbie here.
So your book came out just a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to give too much of it away because we still want people to buy it, right? We still want people going to your site, making the purchase. But some of the things I wanted to talk to you about probably are in your book. So I don't know what's happening over in Oregon. It's just like they're just making up their own rules and throwing common sense completely out the window. I mean, that's been gone for a long time in Oregon, I think.
Right.
But can you can you tell us much about that without giving too much away so people will still want to buy your book?
Yes. So a lot of the things that I can talk about were on national news. And so it's like, I mean, you saw it happen. But the book really kind of goes behind the scenes, and it's the news at some point started censoring my story because I was getting away with being open against the mandate and not suffering the consequences that they were alleging I would suffer. So at some point the news started censoring me and Facebook started censoring me. But the book is really behind the scenes. Like, a lot of people know that CPS was sent to my house, Child Protective Services, when I opened. And so in the book, it's like I dive into just how that felt as a mom, how my husband felt, how our home felt violated after. And, I'm probably going to drop a bomb on you right now, but I don't live in Oregon anymore. Bye.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, and you're in Arizona now.
I'm in Arizona, yes. So Oregon is still crazy. They are still trying to mandate masks outdoors up there. I think they have the most vaccine mandates of any state. They're mandating vaccines for medical workers, hospital workers, the state police, and teachers. So nurses, teachers. So, I mean, a lot more occupations are being slapped with the mandate. Yeah.
Pretty much any government employee. Is that?
Oh yeah. Government employees too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
State employees. Sorry.
Yeah. It sounds like Washington and Oregon are, pretty much, they're running the same agenda.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's just insane. Well, it's insane that, here, so I'm in Idaho, and we have our leadership in Idaho signing executive orders and implementing legislation against mandates and against
Mm-hmm.
vaccine passports. And just the two neighboring states to the west are doing the exact opposite. So it's insane.
Right.
And I mean, I think we're still so fresh with this that we have yet to sort of, we have yet to see a bunch of lawsuits being filed with regards to these types of cases. I know that there was an Oregon state trooper who did the viral video just maybe a couple of weeks ago, saying that he wasn't going to comply with these unconstitutional directives any longer. He wasn't going to be enforcing mandates. He wasn't going to be enforcing passports or anything like that. He got fired. His video went viral. He's filed a lawsuit that has yet to be adjudicated. I don't know what the status of that is, but I get people asking me all the time, what do I do? Like, I don't want to get the vaccine. I want to take some time to be able to study this and research it, but I'm being given a deadline, either get vaccinated or find somewhere else to work. And they're in between a rock and a hard place. And I get a lot of messages going, what do you think I should do? And I said, well, I can't really tell you what to do as far as getting vaccinated. But the only thing it seems you can do right now is first go talk to an attorney and see if you can find somebody to take your case, which we're not seeing a bunch of attorneys jumping up, getting ready to file lawsuits with this, because I think I don't think we've ever experienced anything like this in our country.
Never. This is a first.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm sure the attorneys are just like, what do we do here? Do we take this case and lose badly? Or do we stick our necks out for these people and try and get a win for civil rights? It seems to me, I'm kind of going off on a rant and on a tangent here, but
perfectly acceptable.
And I don't know how you feel about abortion, but
you do know how I feel?
No, I don't know how you feel. I don't think we've talked about that.
Let me just sum it up for you.
Okay. I'm
pro-choice. Women should choose life.
There you go.
So I'm pro-life.
Perfect. Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
I try to stay out of the abortion debate as much as possible. However, when it comes to vaccines, it seems like there's a two-way street. There's a double standard, because if the Supreme Court can infer that a woman has the right to have an abortion because banning abortion violates her privacy rights that are essentially protected by the privacy or the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. I'm sure they could probably make a similar ruling with regards to vaccines that people aren't wanting to consent to. So either, have your abortion, but no vaccine mandates. But if you're going
have it both ways.
If you're going to mandate vaccines, then states should be able to also interfere with abortions, because if they're, like I said, if they're dipping their fingers in the pie with vaccines, then that should apply with abortions as well. So
well, if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of hypocrisy on the left. So
is there? That's weird.
Yeah, a lot of things don't make sense, and some of us that think for ourselves, we're very confused.
It's nuts. So anyway, I got us a little bit sidetracked there, but so and again, you stop me at any time if you feel like I'm soliciting too much information that you don't want to give away, that you want people to read. But you owned a salon, and then there was a lockdown, right? This was all last year, right?
Remember this? Yeah, March.
Yeah,
is when pretty much all the states announced lockdowns.
Yeah, and at the time, I mean, I remember I was working at a gym as a trainer and a nutrition consultant, and I remember when we had to shut down. Initially, it was for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And we didn't know much about the virus at that point. We're like, man, this thing sounds pretty serious, and I wonder what's going to happen. But then after a while, you're like, okay, are we going to, first it was 15 days to flatten the curve, and now we got to shut down for 6 weeks, and now we're social distancing and everybody's wearing masks and everybody's afraid that they're going to die. But after a while, that starts to wear off, and it's like, okay, this isn't really affecting us like we thought it was going to. And we have had our doors closed to our business for a few months now, and we're having trouble paying the bills and keeping the lights on. Are you figuring this shit out yet, or what?
Right. I thought the curve. Yeah. If we flatten the curve, where's the flat part coming in?
Yeah. So I imagine you as a business owner, as a salon owner, you were probably chomping at the bit going, okay, when can I open my doors again? So am I on the right track there? Yeah.
So I had a salon, and I had 25 independent contractors that worked there. So 25 girls that were all, essentially unemployed when we shut down.
Yeah.
But besides that, we had 5 other businesses. We had 4 tanning salons, and we had a gym that we had just built. And like the timing was the timing is horrific, and it should have never happened anyway. But the timing for us was very horrific because we had just built a gym and we had just opened it, and it was like our retirement plan. So we were on the right track business wise. My husband and I have been working for 10 years. We've been married. We've been working our butts off to get financial freedom. And this salon that I just built, I had renovated it and remodeled it and moved into a new location like a year prior. And we spent $100,000 doing it. So I had invested, all of my savings as a business owner into redoing this for, again, the retirement plan.
Yeah.
Well, now they shut me down. My rent was still due. These girls, I couldn't ask them for rent. No one was getting unemployment. We weren't approved for any PPP loans, and we were still expected to pay all the bills, overhead, and rent on 6 buildings, right? So I try to make people who don't have businesses comprehend that. Let's just pretend that the rent is $5,000, which they aren't. They're usually more. 5 times 6, so $30,000 a month we owe just on the rent on a business that you can't operate. So where's that money coming from?
Right.
So we were told 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And I had just had a baby, and I'd already taken, I think, 3 weeks off. So I was like, well, I get more time with my baby. That's fine. Yeah. But then, of course, as everyone knows, 2 weeks turned into 4, turned into 6. And at the 6-week mark, I was like, nope, I'm not buying this anymore. They are just trying to control us. They're trying to see how far they can push us. They had their chance to flatten the curve. They didn't do what was necessary. It was all BS. I believe it was all BS and propaganda anyway. And so I said, I'm going to open, and I did.
Good for you.
Thank you.
And you were like one of the first ones in the country, I think, one of the first few that was like, you know what? I can either lose all of my businesses and possibly go bankrupt and have to start over. And, there's all these risks. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, maybe COVID is a big deal, but we still have to live. Like I can't just shut everything down and then depend on the government, to give me a fraction of what I would have been earning had I been able to keep my businesses open.
Right. And you can't justify, of course I went through all the stages. Okay, well, let's just see what happens. This could be a big deal. Of course I want to protect people.
Right.
But it wasn't very far into the lockdowns. It was probably only the 2-week mark when I was like, hold on a second. I can't do hair. I can't do one person's hair, but Walmart is open. Not because they're essential. It didn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if Walmart was essential or I was essential. You're telling me that it's about a virus that can spread and kill people. People can order their food online, but you've got Walmart's doors open. So how is Walmart not under the scrutiny that I'm under? How are they not receiving OSHA fines for being open? And so there was just no sense to be made from the beginning. I'm a pretty critical thinker. From the 2-week mark, I was kind of like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. So
that's an exclusive characteristic of people on the right, by the way, is critical thinking.
Yes. We have so many traits. Yeah.
But I totally agree. Like nothing made sense because after a while, when sort of this, I guess the fear factor sort of wore off, it's like, okay, no, we're not all dying. We're not all bleeding out of every pore from COVID. We didn't really understand what the virus was or what it was doing to people. And again, like you said, you go to Walmart and Walmart's still open and they're not being shut down. The police aren't showing up, arresting managers and things like that. Right. And not only that, but like the Walmart we have here locally, they closed off one of their entrances and said, everybody has to enter and exit through this entrance. It's like,
help me make sense of that.
Yeah. Not only are you not shutting down, but you're bottlenecking everybody into one entrance. Nobody's social distancing. Like you're within inches of each other.
We're worried that you're going to spread germs. So everybody go in this door together. Yeah.
Everybody crowd in right here. Don't spread out. Yep. Even though that's exactly what we're being told to do by Dr. Fauci and the CDC, which, ugh.
Do you know there were some Walmarts that specifically roped off non-essential areas of their Walmart? It's like, you can be here and you can shop for food, but you can't shop for like toys, kids' toys. They roped off the aisles. I think that was in Oregon. I'm positive because someone had shared it right away. And I was like, what is going on? They would rope off the toys. So it's like, okay, so I could get COVID if I buy toys, but I can't get COVID if I buy food. Oh,
Well, and
maddening.
the whole the procedures that a lot of restaurants put in place, you have to wear your mask while you're walking to your table, but as soon as you sit down, you can take it off. It's like, okay, either the virus is serious and it's deadly, or it's not. If it's deadly, you're not going to be safe no matter what you do in a public space.
If it's deadly, close your restaurant. If it's deadly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let everyone be open. There's restricting in certain ways. If this was really a pandemic,
yeah,
with the country shutting down, but people would be shutting down because they'd be seeing bodies dropping in the street and going, okay, I'm not playing a part in this. No one has seen bodies dropping in the street.
Right.
During this pandemic.
Yeah. And, here's my thought on this is that the vaccine has seemed to polarize us, right? Like a lot of other things have, because it's been politicized. Now, I can acknowledge that COVID is real and that it's serious, but I can also acknowledge that the government has politicized it and using it to gain compliance and reliance on the government. And those things can be true at once, right? Because you see a lot of people being so critical of people who want to say, well, time out for a second. I'm not comfortable getting the vaccine yet. I don't know what's in it. I would like to wait a little while to see what the studies say, to see, what actually ends up happening to people who get the vaccine, to see if it's actually safe and effective. And those people are being demonized. They're being ostracized. They're being fired. They're being censored. They're being silenced. But two things can be true at once, right? Like that's the problem, I think, on the far right and on the left, is that you have this mentality that if you believe this, you're not allowed to believe this.
Right.
Or if you believe this, then you also have to believe this. Yeah,
sort of like the is it the police lives matter? Which is it? Black lives matter and you can believe both. You can believe that both lives matter. So, and that the left has just sort of drawn that line where you either support BLM or you support the police. You cannot support both. And there's a blurred line there, and it's with a black police officer. It's like, which is more important, the color of that person's skin or the job that they do? I mean, how does the left get to decide? And they've just drawn that line and polarized so much. And yes, I agree that there are some people on the right that do the same thing. People who have gotten the vaccination are stupid and ignorant. Well, that's not true. Some people just, they've weighed the options with their doctor and they've made that decision and they've been allegedly educated. Well, that's none of our business anyway. Just like it's none of our business whether they got the vax or we got the vax. The difference is most of us aren't asking publicly and demanding papers and giving a crap what other people do. Get your vaccine, have a great day. They don't treat us the same way. It's not about, well, you didn't get it. That's okay. That's your choice. It's you get it or you're a selfish, crazy, psycho grandma killer. Yeah. Well, and that's one distinction definitely between conservatives and liberals, is that conservatives, they just want to be left alone. They want to mind their own business and they don't want to get involved in your business, but they definitely don't want other people involved in theirs. But on the left, they want to know your business. They want the government to be involved in your business. They want to be able to tell you what to do and what to think and how to live. And they want the government to mandate and control all of those things. Which I think is interesting because the left tends to agree with all of these mandates and lockdowns, right? So when they agree with it, they are advocating and condoning the behavior of the government to come in and tell us what's best for us. Well, now they're doing it with the vaccine mandate, right? They're telling us this is what's best for you. You need to do it. What happens when finally the government does something that the left doesn't like? I don't know what that would be, but I could say, for example, what if the government came in and said, you know what? Democrats are a danger to this nation. Everyone is now a Republican. They'd be like, we are mandating that you are Republican. Now they would freak out, right? Well, now what? Now the government doesn't know it's best, or that your whole entire the stability of your party is now a complete lie. Which is it? So at some point, the tyranny is so bad here that they are going to mandate something that the leftists hate, and then everything's going to implode. And I really feel like at some point, that's what's really going to happen, is the left is going to implode on itself. And we're already seeing it a little bit, right? So BLM is now saying that the vaccine mandates are racist, which is incredibly untrue. However, you know what? Go for it. You're starting to see what it feels like to be a conservative and want your freedom. So you know what? Have at it. And so it's like a little trickle of, are you going to come over to our side? Are you? Are you seeing now what we're seeing? Are you red-pilled? Yeah. Are you tired of the government overreach? You don't want people telling you how you should live? Weird. We felt like for a really long time now.
But that's an interesting point. It's like, at what point does the left become, sort of discontent with the way the government is operating? Because
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to talk about cancel culture, the cancel culture will go back years into your life. They'll dig into your social media and
Mhm.
find a tweet that you tweeted back, in fifth grade when you said
Right.
something about a person of color, and then they will destroy your life in the here
Mhm.
and now, to I guess to make up for some sort of racial injustice. Well, okay, let's apply cancel culture here for a minute. The Democratic Party was linked to the KKK.
Mhm.
Many of the higher, the leaders in the upper echelons of the hierarchy of the KKK were Democrats. So why aren't we canceling the Democratic Party? I
Because
mean,
we Republicans, conservatives, we don't have time for that. We have jobs, we work, we live our lives in peace and in happiness. And a lot of conservatives walk with Jesus, and we got to study our Bible, and we've got to go to church and raise good little conservative kids. I mean, that's what I'm doing. We
yeah,
don't have time to sit down and say, who am I going to attack and cancel and get all my friends to attack and cancel today? We don't have time for that. And unfortunately, it's very one-sided. They are so content doing that, but they're the same people that are sitting around collecting our tax money with unemployment and have nothing better to do than be a keyboard warrior. So
yeah,
it's this concept is not going to change. I'm never going to embrace the cancel culture, and it's very sad because I'd be happy to cancel people who are abortions and funding BLM and funding critical race theory. Like, love it. Would love it if those people go bankrupt. But I
yeah,
don't have the time to invest to cancel you. So
right.
I'm just going to fight you with, my own little life, my own funds.
Yeah. Well, and that's no, that, and that's a great point. It's, well, and the other side of that too is that, everybody has the right to free speech. It's not
Mhm.
just, the people
Not
on the
you, Nate.
left. Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah, I know. I've been told that over and over. They've been trying to cancel me ever since April of this year. But everybody has that right, even if you disagree with what they have to say. But there is this mentality on the left that they have freedom of speech, and you have
Mhm.
it too, as long as you agree with them. But if you disagree
Right.
with them, then they are going to attack you. They're going to silence you. They're going to cancel you out of existence because
Mhm.
they're afraid that if you speak and you speak your opinion and you talk to people, that even if they are on their side, they just might change their mind after hearing what you have to say.
Mhm.
And that scares them to death, right?
Yep.
Because it's all about the narrative. You got to protect the narrative at all costs. And that means if we have to violate someone's First Amendment rights by censoring their speech and canceling them, then that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's for the greater good. It's for our own safety. So, yeah. But I'm curious. So, they either don't see the pattern here. So the pattern that we see, right, is that our rights are being very slowly and conditionally removed,
Mm-hmm.
like a frog in boiling water. I'm sure you've heard that analogy by
Sure.
now.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it, right? Are they not seeing it, right? Or do they really believe that in a year, 2 years, however long it takes to be completely Australia, do they not think that's going to include them? Like, do they think only Republicans are going to lose their freedom of speech? Do they think only
Right.
conservatives are going to be silenced? Do they think that they're not going to be mandated to get, XYZ? Your kids have to go to, a mandated CRT training every week. Like, there's got to be some things they don't believe in, but they're not going to be above it. So they either
Right.
don't see the pattern, or they're stupid enough to believe that they're going to have a seat at the platform and not
Right.
yeah. Oh, LeBron James is joining us. Check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to have a seat next to LeBron James as long as you're on the left and you've agreed with everything that they've had to say this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't think it really
Yeah.
works that way. And that's one of the things that I tend to think about with regards to socialism. I don't think well, first of all, most of the people who want to implement socialism are like 20-year-old undergrad students at UC Berkeley,
Mhm.
and they're being brainwashed and indoctrinated by their liberal professors, and they have no clue what socialism actually looks like. They've never been to Cuba. They've never been to Venezuela. They have no idea what socialism would do to our country, but they're screaming about it because they're being fed the sugar-coated version of it, right? This fairy tale version that everything's going to be equal.
Mhm.
And you don't really have to work that hard because eventually we're going to redistribute wealth, and it's going to elevate you to middle class, I suppose. and you're going to get all of this stuff for free, and you won't even have to do any manual labor for it. You won't have to go to work. Just sit back and let the government take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, there's, again, along with everything else, police work, systemic racism, right, quote unquote, their perception of these things just aren't grounded in reality. But they have this fantasy that they're playing out in their minds, like everything's going to be okay as long as they vote in the Democratic Party, and they're going to be taken care of.
So that makes me want to ask, when you said like they're going to sit around and let the government take care of them, right? Well, in the socialist, basis, everyone still has a part to play, right? Because you have to do something for there to be all this money laying around for all of us. What do they think is going to happen when the government says, you're not contributing, not even anything. You're actually just sitting around collecting. So you are useless to us. Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen? I mean,
well, I can think of all kinds of
what's going to happen.
Horrible things.
But I mean, again, we use our brains. So
yeah. Well, and when you're talking about the redistribution of wealth, the elected officials who are pushing for that, like Bernie Sanders and all these other idiots, they don't want to redistribute their wealth. They want to redistribute your wealth, and they want to remain at the top as these oligarchs who are in charge of everybody's money, and they decide where it goes. And it's not going to go to poor people to elevate poor people. It's going to go into government programs, and then the government has control of your money, and they decide what to do with it and how it's implemented and where it's spent. Mm-hmm. So the idea that when you implement socialism, that we're all going to live in this utopia afterwards is completely idiotic.
Right. Well, and no one would have dreams or aspirations. I mean, I know that that, but that dream car that you're going to be saving up forever to get, no, there is no dream car. No one can afford it. We are all making the same amount of money. So we're all driving Priuses. Awesome.
And no one's going to make it. No one's going to manufacture it. Why would they spend all that time, money, and talent to manufacture something?
A good car,
yeah. It's like that whole system is completely foreign to the things that we know, like the way we live life in America. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's not this fairy tale that they think that it is. You could
apply that to every single item, retail item, and service that you receive, right? And I'm retired from hair now. I haven't told you that either, but why would you have a hairstylist that does a great job? If I was a hairstylist, why would I do a great job and make more money? I'm not going to make more money. My job is just to cut people's hair probably like a conveyor belt, right? If I'm only going to make a certain amount of money, I'm doing a decent job at best just because of my character. Right. There goes your spa services. There goes your clothing. There's no name brand clothing. Why am I going to sell a Nike shirt for $80? I don't make any money. It's going to go to everyone else. Let's cheapen the clothing. Let's cheapen everything. Right. There's not going to be movies it's just going to be literally.
Yeah. Everything becomes, the quality of everything becomes much, much poorer.
Right.
And my best friend who lives in Utah, he lived in Canada for several years. In Canada, they have socialized medicine up there. And I remember him telling me it's awful. Because you can't even get into a regular checkup appointment. You have to call, and your appointment is maybe 6, 7, 8 months out.
Oh my gosh!
If you have something that's pressing, like I've had a fever for like 3 or 4 days, but I've got to wait all this time to get in to see my doctor. Because people are going to the doctor because they have a hangnail or because they have a slight cough or they have a toothache. So when you make things free that way, people are going to take advantage of it. But then the people with real problems have to wait all this time to be seen by a doctor. And not only that, but I think he said that they were taxed at like 50%.
Oh my gosh!
In Canada, so Canada took 50% of his income.
Yeah, and literally that's what we just were talking about. Why would you work any harder if you already know half of it's going out the door for stuff you don't even care about, stuff you don't want to fund?
Yeah, exactly. So, socialism is not the fun park that everybody thinks it's going to be.
Right. Yeah. The left thinks it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good grief. Okay. So anyway, you're in this battle with the government in Oregon, right?
A little bit. Yeah. So, Gosh, I stayed open. I endured all the threats, all the harassment, the Class C misdemeanor, the $50,000 a day fines, the Child Protective Services showing up at my door threatening to take my kids.
How did that go? How did that go over? I'm wondering, when
Not
Child
very.
Protective Services shows up, what
Yeah.
do they say? Like, what is their
So
justification for being there?
it was all very vague, but it was all very ironic that it was like the day after I opened that they received the phone call. So it was, I mean, we have whistleblowers now that have come forward and said this was sent down from the top. And that comes from every agency that harassed me.
Mhm.
I was told by the police department in Salem that Kate Brown was like, arrest Lindsey Graham. And they said, no, thanks, Salem Police Department. They called in sick, but she was just calling in every favor she could, using all her power to say, shut this woman up, shut her down. I was calling her bluff at every turn because I never went to jail. I never got a $50,000 a day citation. I never got arrested. They threatened to take my hair license. They couldn't do that. They threatened to take my salon license. They couldn't do that. And this is all happening in the course of like a 10-day period. So every single day, I was waking up to a new threat that I had to just power through. And what happened is that after 15 days, I had still stayed open. And I did get a $14,000 citation from OSHA that I've been fighting. But she eventually opened salons because, and most of the salon owners in Oregon said it's because she couldn't shut you down. And she knew that if more time went by, everyone would realize that she couldn't, and that you would prove that her illusion of authority was completely fabricated. And so I stayed open. I did file a lawsuit against the state of Oregon last year in December that alleges takings and alleges violation of my freedom of speech, because when I opened, I was then in turn harassed and threatened. So being open was my freedom of speech, my protest, and instead I was, targeted for that. So the lawsuit is moved to federal court, which is insane.
Wow.
And we are demanding a jury trial. Mm-hmm. And a judge is sitting on it, of course, because they probably don't want it to go to court. And then worst possible news ever, but my attorney got a job out of private practice, and he's got a family, and he's on city council, and he's got kids. So he took this job, which means I have to find a new attorney for this case or I drop it, which is devastating news to me. And so I'm on the search for an attorney. If anyone watching this knows a great attorney that's willing to take my case, I can send him the court. But so I don't know where that's going to go. I'm just praying about it repeatedly every day that God will just bring the right person in to kind of see that through, because I mean, without an attorney, it's not like I can fight it myself. So.
Right. Well, if that does end up going to court, we need to make that as public as we possibly can and get the word out, because the more public pressure, or I guess the more visible, right, that case is, the more the public will weigh in on it, and that puts pressure on the attorneys and on the judge. And I hate to say it, but on the jury. I mean, I'm not a fan of jury tampering, but they definitely, I mean, let's face it, juries don't ever follow jury instructions, and they allow outside influences to influence their decision in the courtroom all the time. So, if we can get your case out there as much as we possibly can and bring attention to it and showcase the injustice and the unconstitutionality of it, then I think that will at least help a little bit with securing a victory for you. That's going to be so stressful.
It's not, well, it is a little bit trying to find a new attorney. It wasn't for a while because he was just handling everything. But now it's like, oh man, I don't know if you know this, but someone opened a GoFundMe for me because OSHA had threatened me with a $70,000 citation. So a GoFundMe was opened and it raised $70,000, but that has been spent on this attorney for the last almost 2 years, and my OSHA attorney fighting my OSHA citation. So, I mean, finding an attorney that's willing to take this on contingency and see it through, it's going to be a huge, huge, huge case. But if I don't find someone, it's just completely off the table. So,
what's what are the consequences if you don't? I mean, let's say you're not able to find an attorney and your case gets dismissed. I mean, what do they as far as these fines go that you haven't paid, I mean, what's their next step? Do they take you to jail? Oh, you're frozen again. Start swaying back and forth so that I know that you're. We almost got you back. There we go.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it was just $14,000. I last 18 months paying an attorney to fight. I spent about $1,000. It's about the side of like, I'm not paying a citation. It's not justified. It's not legal. It's for employees, and I didn't have employees. So the entire investigation was not legal, not authority. I will not pay OSHA $14,000. I'd rather pay an attorney, $40,000 to fight it.
Yeah.
But like I said, the money's gone. Like I can't fund out of pocket. I don't even have any of my businesses anymore. They've all got canceled. So I dropped the whatever you want to call it, the I'm not going to pay fight.
Yeah.
And said, well, I'm not fighting it anymore. But I'm waiting for them to say I gotta pay. It's like, no, I'm not paying it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I will pay that fine. I will not. LLC doesn't exist anymore. I don't have business. They've done damage they can do to me. They should be content to send me out of town. I'm no longer to the community. So, I'm just kind of praying that God will handle it. But this might be my next fight. I'm not paying that citation.
Well, and these are all civil fines, right? I mean, it's not like. I mean, there weren't any criminal statutes that you were in violation of.
Yes, correct.
Okay, yeah. So, well, if for some reason you do end up in jail, I will start a GoFundMe to bond you out.
Thank you.
And then to help pay for attorneys.
I'm gonna record that really quick. Hold on.
It'll be on YouTube. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just, well, like I said, I know that when your attorney was handling things, it kind of took the stress off of you. But up until that time, it must have been super stressful and even a little bit scary to think I'm getting nailed with all of these fines. Mm-hmm. And then to be alone. I mean, really, like, I heard about the gym owner, I think it's Attila Gym back on the East Coast, who was kind of in the same situation. He's like, you know what? I'm not closing my gym. This is ridiculous. I've got to be able to feed my family. We want people coming in and working out and getting healthy and staying home and wearing a mask and, staying out of the sunlight and locking yourself away and being reclusive is not conducive to health and wellness. Correct. And like you guys are, I mean, I'm sure there were others, but as far as the ones that received national attention, you were one of the first and only ones. So to be alone in that fight over here on the West Coast, on the west side of the United States, must have been sort of daunting.
It was very daunting at the time. It was very daunting. And now that it's done and said, it's hard to kind of go back to that place and remember how badly it felt. But there were times too where I just felt so empowered. I just would get these ridiculous letters in the mail every day. And I was like, all right, what is it today?
Yeah.
And today it's, we're going to kick you out of your building because you're violating your lease because you're not obeying the law. And it was like, no, you can't do that. You just can't. So, toss it to the side and keep going forward. And, conservative Americans really kept me going. They were sending letters, they were emailing, they were calling. My phone was ringing off the hook at the salon of people saying, thank you for standing up. Thank you for being brave. And so I fought this battle almost daily where I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I feel strong and empowered and I do feel brave. And this is awesome what I'm doing. And I'm a good person for doing this. And then cancel culture saying you're a piece of crap, you're a murderer, and you're going to lose everything for what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I really did sit down with my husband one night and go, okay, so let's talk about this. What if I go to jail? What do we do? What's the first move? Who's our attorney? What happens? And so it's like, at what point did doing hair become, hey babe, what if I go to jail for this? Like, it just became so ridiculous. And like you said, daunting and exhausting.
Yeah.
And that whole period of my life seriously is a complete blur. And
imagine.
It's almost like it wasn't me that experienced that because I was in just this fog the whole time.
It's very surreal.
It was very surreal. And I write about this a lot in my book about how it felt like an out of body experience when I see myself on the news, or when someone would share like, oh, Ben Shapiro shared your story. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then it's like, well, that's not me. I mean, it's just like, was weird how I felt like the person doing this Lindsey Graham, Patriot Barbie
Yeah.
was another person. And I just was a mom and a salon owner, and now it's this big thing. So, but I can't help but say that God has really blessed this journey. People have to know that's, if you want to be inspired, that's what my book is about. I lost everything physically, lost all our businesses. We had to sell our home and leave, uproot our family. But God has done really awesome things in Arizona for me, and he's opening new doors. And it's 100% clear that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And it's so beautiful. I have no idea where my life is going. I'm not a hairstylist anymore. Don't own a salon. I have no idea what my future job is.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying that, and it's beautiful. And yeah, it's a happy ending.
The unknown and the unpredictability of it are pretty exciting things, because you and I have, as you're talking about this, I'm kind of thinking like, wow, we've been through a lot of the same things, obviously from from different career standpoints. But I had the exact same thing when I did that TikTok that went viral. I had so many people come out in support and say, good for you. Please don't, keep going. We need you. We need your voice. We need you to keep standing up. Police officers need you. Like they don't have a voice. They need you to speak up for them. And then after a little while, all of the haters, all of the trolls and the critics just came out in full force. We hate you. Yep. You're a racist. You're a murderer.
Yeah.
Coming up with all kinds of wild, insane stories.
You're
about
a murderer.
Me.
How?
Yeah, I'm a murderer. I don't know. I've never murdered anybody, so I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And I've never been racist either. I've never said anything racist. I've never done anything racist, but I'm a racist and I'm a murderer.
Yep.
And just a terrible human being. But it's crazy how you have that opposition. But I will say this, the opposition, they seem to be more persistent. They do not give up. They don't give up. My original TikTok account got banned. I had 600,000 followers on that account, and it got banned because it was mass reported by all the woke trolls on there. So, it's not like my supporters can go and say, no, we really wanted his account, because they don't have that type of feature. But I'm still getting so many, messages, and it's obviously the dust is settling a little bit there. But the opposition, they are persistent. They don't quit when they decide they hate you and they want you gone. They will keep after it. And I'm sure you experience that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. The reason we moved to Arizona was because our gym was in a primarily Hispanic area, and the leftist, 22-year-old Hispanic woke mob said, well, so this is a whole part of the story I skipped. I'm sorry. When BLM started rioting in Salem and Portland and all that, respond. So about protected salon and the entire salon. So guess what I was? A white supremacist,
of course.
Race. I cared more about salon than Black lives. The narrative was very predictable. So they had started canceling our gym. So we had to sell that off to the partner. They canceled my salon, and then they started canceling all of our tanning salons. And so we just looked at each other in the heart of it. And it's like, what you're saying, they don't stop. For 72 hours, it was like, you're a murderer, you're a C word, you're a B word. I hope you die. I hope your kids get COVID and die. I hope your business gets shut down. Non-stop for 72 hours. Like death threats at our house, death threats from family members, people saying that, oh, my sister went to Glamour, she got COVID. And it's like, no, she did. Come on, that would actually be on news. Like, we're so stupid. So we said, we got to go. We can't live here. We can't survive here. We can't be successful here anymore.
Yeah.
Our names are splattered all over the left, and they just relentless until it was good. We ran them out of Oregon, and I'm like, cool. You also just cost like a couple dollars in tax revenue for the next few years because we took all of our businesses and left. So good for you guys.
Yeah, it's like they think that's a victory when really all they did was chase out a very good, decent family out of the state of Oregon.
Yes, for their own narrative. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're getting rid of all the good, decent people in Oregon. Yay, good for us. All we have left are trash.
Yep. There is a mass exodus going on in California and Oregon. I can tell you what they're doing. They're coming to Arizona. So as long as they bring their red votes, I'm totally fine with that.
Right.
But yeah, there's a big difference in culture and society in a red state and a blue state. So
stop them at the border and say, just take this red pill, then you can come on in.
Yes, exactly. Here's one for you. Here's one for you.
Well, and we're getting a lot of that. Yeah, we're getting a huge influx of people from California as well. And then, you know, when I'm running into people, and I don't mind. I mean, they're driving the cost of real estate up, which is kind of frustrating. But I don't blame you for wanting to leave a state like California or Oregon. Fine, come over here. Like, the water's nice on this end of the pool, but don't pee in it. You know, don't bring your Democratic votes over here, because that's the whole reason that California is such a shithole. That's the reason Oregon is such a miserable place to live, is because you're voting for these people. They create terrible policies. They raise taxes through the roof. They limit police officers and their authority to enforce certain laws. So, yeah, I mean, you know, you end up being like San Francisco, where you have people just walking into a Rite Aid or an Ulta or whatever, throwing stuff into garbage bags, you know, and then walking out the door with it, and nobody can stop them. Because why? Well, the prosecutor isn't going to prosecute those cases. So why are the police officers going to stop them?
Yep. You've defunded the police. How's that working out for you? So I was with some Oregonians today, and they're looking at houses down here. And they said that kind of during the COVID crisis, their daughter and son had gotten home to their gated community or their gated home and looked through, and she said, there's someone in my car. They got to their car. The man was in her car filling a bag with her stuff. They shut him in there, called the police. The police showed up and said, we can't arrest him because we can't throw him in jail because of, you know, COVID. So they were going to let him just walk away. She's like, can you at least drive him out of our community? Like, he's just going to come back and break into my car again. They wouldn't even cuff him. They put him in the back of the car and escorted him out to the gate. And they said, oh, we'll drop him off downtown. He was caught in the act of stealing.
So what if they beat his ass right there in front of the cop? Is the cop going to take them to jail for that?
Exactly, right? What's the difference? Yeah.
I mean,
it's a great
because
question.
of COVID, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's a simple battery. You got 2 misdemeanor crimes. Well, I don't know. I would argue that if he's in their car, that's vehicle burglary, which is a felony in Idaho, at least. So he's committing the worst crime, the more severe crime, and you're not going to take him to jail because of COVID. So if I kick his ass for getting into my car, which is only going to be a misdemeanor, and unless I seriously injure him, are you going to take me to jail?
Right.
Remember, COVID. You know,
COVID. Yeah. If I get sick, I'm suing you.
so stupid. Some of the comments that are coming in here I think a flood of liberal. I don't know. I think a flood of liberals is worse. I don't know. Denise, I agree.
I really do. They bring illegal aliens at least are probably a little appreciative of this country, a little appreciative of the opportunity. Even if they snuck in, they're going to tiptoe around. They're going to keep quiet. They're going to try to do their thing. Yes, they're going to probably use our tax money. They're going to, get into our system and milk it dry. But they're probably not going to attack conservatives the way liberals do. And the damage that liberals do, leftists do to conservatives is a lot more painful than some people might be aware of. And to live in a country where by speaking your opinion, you can be silenced, you can be deleted. I was deleted off TikTok too. It's like someone put a mask over your face. It's like someone just masked you, and you can't control it. You can't say what you need to say on the platform that you need to say it, because they're canceling you in mass and silencing you. And it's a pretty terrible feeling. I've had an Instagram delete. what does my life amount to? It amounts to I can shut you up whenever I want.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And here's, I don't want people to misunderstand. So my sister is liberal, but she's not ultra liberal. We get along swimmingly. Every once in a while we will get into, I don't want to say heated debate, but a pretty intense debate over things. But at the end of the day, we're still brother and sister, and we still love each other. Not all liberals have this woke radical mindset that, I mean, we're seeing that, like, that's what we're seeing. That's what's being shoved in our face. That's what we see on the media. That's what we're getting from CNN and MSNBC and all of these other, left-wing mainstream media outlets. We see the extreme radical side all of the time. We're not getting any of the moderate versions of the, of the liberal political perspective.
I have a girlfriend, like a best friend, who's a Democrat, she claims she's a liberal. And I'm like, we have these conversations and I'm thinking, you don't sound that liberal. I mean, you have a rational, sound argument that doesn't go extreme left in an area that we're debating that I don't go extreme right. I mean, I go extreme right on a lot of things, but there's some things I'm like, okay, I can listen to you. I can hear what you're saying. I can agree with, this and this and this. And in the end, here's what I believe. But she loves my page and she agrees with me on all kinds of things. And I'm like, where are those people? I mean, are they being silenced too? Where are the Democrats who are like, hey, just so you guys know, our party's gone crazy. Like, we don't back this up. We don't agree.
Yeah.
There is no, and the same with us. I mean, we're being labeled right-wing conspiracy theorists. And it's like, there are people that aren't as extreme, like me, for example. Where are all those people, and why can't they all be in, a meeting or a mediation saying, okay, so we all agree that life starts here, and we all agree that women shouldn't abort their babies here, and okay, so let's get closer to the middle there and start agreeing on some things, and then let's make our government agree that we all agree on this.
Yeah.
But the government itself just has so much control. They think that they know what both sides want, and they just decide for us, which is just horrible.
Yeah, they're smarter than we are, right? So they make the decisions for us because we're all stupid.
That's right.
And they know how we should best live our lives. It's funny that you say that, because it was just this morning, maybe I was watching the news, and they showed a clip of Bill Clinton back in 1992 when he was announcing that we were sort of abolishing the welfare state that we've been living in. And he was talking about how the United States of America values hard work. They value the individual and their ability to succeed in life without depending on the government. I'm paraphrasing, but that was kind of the premise of his message. Right. And then you fast forward 30 years later, and it's the exact opposite. It's like, no. You don't need to go to work. Go ahead and shut down your business, lock everything down. We want you to be dependent on us. We're going to just spend all kinds of money. Go ahead and pass this $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill that has all the little things hidden in it that we want, right? But that we're trying to hide from you. And we want you to be compliant, and we want you to be reliant, because the Democrats want to stay in power more than anything. They're desperate to stay in power. So if they can get you to rely on them with all of these government programs that they want to put into place, they know that they will get your vote, because as soon as they have you involved in those programs, it's very hard to break out of that cycle and be self-sufficient and be an individual again.
Well, yeah, that's how people are acting right now after the lockdowns, because they locked everybody down and they started giving out unemployment. Well, that's why we're seeing a massive unemployment rate in U.S., higher than it's been in however many years, definitely pre-Trump. But why in the world? I mean, I know that my work ethic would never allow for this, but why in the world would someone go out and get a job, especially a job that they're going to hate, if they have to wear a mask or if they have to get vaccinated? Why would they go do that when the government is handing them money? And that's what, for the last 18 months, they learned. Oh, well, this is just going to keep coming. The minute I go back to work, I lose.
Oh, you're completely frozen now. I can't even hear you. Starting to come back a little bit. Getting little bits and pieces. Here we go, folks. Seeing signs of life in the video now.
Seeing
I
the
don't know
wave.
what's going on. It's probably YouTube trying to censor us.
Just silence. I'm telling you.
There you go. Now we're getting there. So
yeah.
Oh, there you okay. Now I can hear you. Oh, there we go. Got the video back. Jeez,
Yay!
I don't know what is going on with that.
I just have something to say. Gosh.
No, that's great. I like it. I like it. So sorry, I missed probably a lot of what you said. But when you got sort of cut off, when you got cut off, you were
you get the concept. People want to stay home and collect unemployment. They don't want to work again.
Yeah.
So we've already established there's a percentage of people in the US that are totally comfortable with communism that just provides them with a paycheck, that they don't have to do anything.
You know, and I'm like you. I don't understand that. I don't understand wanting to be limited, right? Because the government can only give you so much money. The government's not going to make everybody wealthy. And not that it's all about wealth, but, you know, there are certain jobs or, you know, positions that you're not going to be able to elevate yourself to if you live under that kind of government regime.
Yeah.
And it's insane that, like, you know, like you said, people are not incentivized to go to work. And you see it all over, like every restaurant or business that I go to, help wanted signs on every one of them.
Absolutely.
No, but they can't get people to fill out applications, because why would they? If they
sign
can
on
stay
bonuses
home.
At McDonald's, sign on bonuses. Seriously, at McDonald's. It's crazy.
Yeah. Panda Express is starting out workers between $13 and $18 an hour. That's nuts.
Yeah. And what happens when they want to take a vacation? When you have the government providing a set amount of money every month, you have nothing to work for. You can never take a vacation. You can never dream about the kind of car you want, or buying, you know, a nice necklace for your wife for Christmas. What happens when you can never have anything, never have any dreams or aspirations, because your money is put into account and dictated for you? Like, you can't allot for those things. That sounds horrible. I don't know how some people think that that's awesome. Stephanie,
it's complete. Oh, can you see the comments?
Yeah. She says unemployment does not accommodate the lifestyle I'm accustomed to. And I'm like, that's me. That is a great point.
Let's see, which one was that? Oh, here we go. That's the way our viewers can see it. Yeah, Stephanie said unemployment does not accommodate the lifestyle I'm accustomed to.
People who have worked hard and earned things and bought things, and they've got a lifestyle like that could range. That's a huge range of people in the US. That's not the 1%. That's not the wealthy. It's just people who say, "Oh, I saved up for the last 2 years so I could take my kids to Disneyland." That's a lifestyle that you can't have once your income is being dictated to you. That sounds horrible. I don't know who. I don't even know why leftists would agree to something like that.
Well, and that's why the conservative or the Republican Party has been so appealing to me, is because traditionally they've been all about limited government. The less government involvement, the better. The government needs to stay the hell out of the way as much as they possibly can and just let people live their lives. And that's when the country actually thrives. But I can't believe that people aren't acknowledging the damage that Joe Biden is doing to the country, coming in and regulating everything and implementing all these ridiculous policies. I mean, this infrastructure bill that they're going to pass it's not going to be a walk in the fun park either. There's a lot of little hidden, acts and bills within this bill, or policies in this bill, that are going to create a hardship for the middle class, the working class people. But again, it just comes down to how informed you are as a voter. You know, people don't bother to read bills and legislation that are being passed. The only thing they see is that Joe Biden was Obama's vice president for 2 terms, and we loved Obama. Not me, they did. I hated Obama. He was the worst president up until we elected Joe Biden. And but that's what they see, and that's what they base their vote on. So we have so many misinformed or ill-informed voters. That's why people, like Joe Biden, end up being elected into office. And
did he though?
Well,
did he get elected into office?
That remains to be seen. I think that is another topic. But
that's another podcast.
I'm waiting. So what I preach to people is that let's wait for all of the information to come out, especially with regards to like police incidents. People tend to jump the gun and have this knee-jerk reaction. And my advice is always, well, we don't have enough information right now to make an opinion one way or the other. And I kind of feel like that's how it is with the election audits. Although there seems to be more and more evidence coming out that there was fraud, but I don't. Well, and you probably know more about this than I do, being down in Arizona. The Maricopa County audits just came out.
Yes,
I'm seeing conflicting reports. Like what I don't, and that's what I don't. That's where I get frustrated, because I see, the official reports that we're seeing, even on Fox News, say that, according to the results of the audit, Joe Biden won by a very small margin, but he still won the election officially. But then you see all of this other stuff come out about, duplicate ballots and people who voted from, another district or another county or even another state. So it's like, well, okay, is all of that stuff in the official report? Would that stuff just dismissed, or how's that work?
Well, there's a video that I posted Wendy Rogers does a great job explaining it, and she's got a video that's going viral right now. Wendy Rogers kind of goes through the whole thing and breaks it down. But what's happening is, even if the numbers were to show that Joe Biden still won, if we know that we can't trust those numbers at all because there's multiple ballots, there's false ballots, there's duplicate ballots, then you can't trust the system at all. If you found that after the fact, after it's been certified, okay, I don't trust it, right? Okay, I don't trust it at all. I don't even trust the legit ones now. Where did they come from? Did someone forge a signature? I got 2 ballots. Well, I'm a decent person. I didn't vote for Trump twice. I went and turned in my 1 ballot and I threw the other one in the garbage. There was so much chaos that the results just have to be decertified. You can't twist it. No matter what, you can't twist the fact that there was wrong in it and it was certified that way because no one bothered to look into it. Well, now that you know that there's wrong, it needs to be decertified and redone, period. No matter how you want to fudge the numbers, he still won. Well, did he? I mean, we just found this. What else are we going to find when we start digging through? And the media really is, it's insane. They're really spinning it to, well, it's all been a big conspiracy twist and Joe Biden did win. Okay. And then they're leaving out the rest. And you're only getting the authentic truth and facts from conservatives. Well, now they're being labeled as still, well, they're trying to twist it into there was cheating. And no one said there was cheating. There was just misrepresentation and false information floating all around this election. So it needs to be decertified. And if Joe Biden really won and people still love Joe Biden, then we can have a re-election in Arizona or however they're going to do it. And he can just go ahead and win again. But honestly, I think it's a blessing that it took this long for them to dig through and audit everything, because now everyone has seen the damage that Joe Biden can do. And if there is a re-election, we all know, hands down, by the millions and millions and millions now, who's going to win. Yeah. There's no way that, well, here's the thing. I hate to speak in absolutes because I didn't think that Joe Biden was going to win in 2020. But, obviously a lot of people voted for him. It's not like he didn't get any votes and they manufactured all of his votes. Even before he managed to do so much damage as president, I am sure you saw it too. Like, why are people voting for this guy? I mean, not to mention that, he did nothing as 47 years as a senator, absolutely nothing, except for have a hand in the key piece of legislation, which was the 1994 crime bill, which everybody claims was extremely racist because it resulted in mass incarceration of people of color. For some reason, the left doesn't bring that up, right? They want to complain about the legislation, but they don't want to complain about Joe Biden's participation in it. And not to mention all of the other things that he's been caught on camera saying that are completely racist. But they want to accuse Donald Trump of being racist when Donald Trump never did or said anything that was racist. It makes no sense. Gosh, you said something that made me want to say something about, who's voting for Biden? And I just really, I can't imagine it's anyone who was thinking about looking into policies or politics or track records. It was the news media's perfect ploy of, we hate Donald Trump. He's terrible for this country. Just elect the other guy, period. Yeah. That's all you need to know. Not Donald Trump. Yep. And it worked. I mean, it allegedly worked. I don't believe it worked. I believe they knew it wouldn't work. And so they took matters in their own hands. But
Well,
I'm
I
just a
think
conspiracy
that's
theorist. What do I
well, no,
know?
I mean, you're right.
Mhm.
That's how they got the votes that they did get, right? If we're talking about the legitimate votes, it was all about Donald Trump is evil, orange, and bad, and there's
Mhm.
no way that we can reelect him. If you do, you're doomed, especially if you're a person of color, because he hates people of color and he's a racist, and you're all going to live miserably in this oppressive country if Donald Trump is president. But if you vote for Joe Biden, all of that is going to go away. Now, I did a video on TikTok and Instagram a while ago going, how's that going for everyone? Because I haven't heard any talk of any policies that Joe Biden has implemented that have benefited the Black community, for example.
Mhm.
Now, Donald Trump, one of his policies when he was in office was the First Step Act, which resulted in the release of thousands of Black inmates from prison, right? If they'd completed a certain amount of their sentence, and if their crime wasn't a violent crime, like if it was a drug crime, for example, this particular bill allowed for their early release. That benefited more people of color than it did white prisoners. Yet
Mhm.
nobody gives Donald Trump credit for that. Now, it was a
No.
bipartisan bill that was supported by both both houses of Congress, but Donald Trump really pushed for it. He put pressure on Congress to get it passed. I haven't heard of any piece of legislation like that coming from the Biden administration.
No. And of course not. And the media doesn't cover it. So I feel like the tides are going to turn very, very soon. You can only spin things so far before
Right.
the media is going to go, okay, let's break this wide open.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see how they can really. I mean, it's just been one disaster after another with
Mhm.
Joe Biden, and I don't see how they can keep making excuses for it.
Right.
It's like you said, at some point something's got to give. Like the levee is going to completely break, and it's going to be a flood. That's why
Mhm.
2022 is so
Can't wait.
important. Yeah,
Ugh, it's gonna be
2022
fun.
is crucial. Like if we don't take control of Congress, we're in it for the long haul, and it's
Mhm.
going to take years to undo the damage that Biden has done and will continue to do if he remains in office. Now, the reason I'm hopeful about the 2022 election is that if we take control of Congress, Republicans take control, then we can start talking about impeachment,
Yeah.
right? That you can't talk about it now because even if Nancy Pelosi were to allow impeachment to be discussed on the House floor, we don't have enough members of the House to vote for it and get it passed.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Oh, we just keep praying. Just
Yes.
praying. Yeah.
Okay, so I know we've been at this for a while. I know you're busy. I know you probably have other things to do. But you have a talk show.
I do. Yeah, I have a radio talk show that is airing this weekend on the 9th. It's with 960 AM The Patriot, and it's
Is
called
that
She's So Right.
like your pilot episode?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Nice.
It's so awkward. The
That
first
no,
one is so awkward.
that's really
But we're gonna
cool.
stream it on YouTube and Rumble as well. And
Okay.
it's called She's So Right Show. And I have a co-host, Brandy Barclay, who is awesome. And we are the dynamic duo. So we're pretty entertaining.
I bet. And let's
Uh,
see. And here's your book,
yes.
Targeted.
Yay, look at you.
Let's see. So people can find that at patriotbarbie.com. You just go to the shopping tab on the website, and people can find you at Real Lindsey Graham on Instagram, and then the Patriot Barbie on Facebook. Where else can people find you?
Let's see. YouTube, the Patriot Barbie, Rumble, the She's So Right show. You can find me at church on Sundays. I'm everywhere.
So
I'll be
just
in
real
California this next weekend when my show airs. If anyone's from California, I'll be there speaking at God Speak Church. So
nice.
yeah.
So you're obviously quite religious. I mean, you've brought that up a couple of times.
Mhm.
If you don't mind me asking, are you part of a particular domination of
No, we attended like Baptist. I would say honestly, it's like non-denominational.
Okay.
Just this journey has really like opened my eyes to having a God that really loves me and cares about me and has a plan for me, because some of the stuff that I went through, the cancel culture, was very, very, very dark, very dark.
Yeah.
And I've said this a few times, a lesser person would have committed suicide. It was very hard. And in that time, my family had raised me with faith. And so I just prayed to God that he would make it good and that I wouldn't be going through a persecution for no reason. And I just knew with all my heart that he was going to make something good of this. And then after I got down here and I started reading my book and these different doors started opening, I was like, this is it. You called me to this.
Yeah.
And I can't be canceled. I can't be silenced. I've got nothing to lose now. You've called me to be a voice. And so, with that comes the responsibility to try to kind of open other people's eyes to what I feel like we're in a spiritual war. And I kind of hope Jesus comes back soon because I am over it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I mean, it sounds super religious, but I'm like, all right, we got to save souls here because Jesus is coming back and we have got to get people to heaven. And so I just feel like that's my calling. So I try to do it in a passive way and not be too super religious with people, but God's very real in my life. And so it's something that I can't help but share because I honestly too feel like without him, everything would have just been bad. And I wouldn't have seen these opportunities come out of this horrible situation. And he's just proven himself so much that I feel like when you kind of read my book and you look at my life as a whole, it's just hard to deny that there wasn't a plan this whole time or that he wasn't preparing me for this.
Yeah.
And the more I dive into this calling, the more I feel that he's just put me right where I'm supposed to be. So it's just very inspiring.
That's awesome.
I hope I inspire people. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same side of this.
Yes.
Said our experiences are very similar. Real quick, I know you mentioned your family a couple times. You said you're a mom. How many kids do you have? I
have a 7-year-old boy, a 4-year-old girl, and an 18-month-old boy.
Oh boy, that's I bet that keeps you busy.
It's wild. Yeah, and my baby was only 6 weeks old. Well, he was 2 weeks old when they did lockdowns. So I had a newborn. That whole time I was going through all of that, I also had a newborn at home. Oh my gosh. So life was interesting.
There's definitely a special place in heaven reserved for you. Now you're married?
Married, yep. 10 years. Okay.
What does your husband do, if you don't mind sharing?
I don't know. He knows he's signed up for Patriot Barbie. So he opened the gym in Oregon and then he was running the tanning salons. And when we got down here, we didn't want to do that again because we had built so much. It was like exhausting to think about trying to rebuild our whole lives all over again.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do anything where we could be canceled again. So instead of having brick and mortar businesses, we decided to sell our beautiful home in Oregon and start doing fix and flips down here. Okay. So I have my license as a realtor and he finds distressed homes. He fixes them up and then I list them for sale. And that's what we do for a living now.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
And it's been fun. Like it's way better than slaving away behind the chair doing hair. So, yeah. I mean, it's more freedom and more time with our kids. So that's been a blessing too.
Well, good for you guys. Yeah, that's great. Well, good luck with your book. I appreciate you coming on the show, Lindsey. This has been awesome. I'm glad we were able to connect and, sort of expand each other's networks a little bit.
Me too.
You'll have to keep me posted on the event in Arizona. I think you said in the spring.
Yes, in the spring, we're throwing a huge Back the Blue event at Dillon's in Arizona, Western Trails. And there's going to be some very, very big speakers there. And I would love for you to come and be a speaker and sell your books. And yeah.
Absolutely. I'll bring you one. Like you said, we can exchange it. But if you guys haven't already, go buy Lindsey's book, Targeted. Like I said, you can find it on patriotbarbie.com. Go follow her over on Instagram and also on Facebook. And Lindsey, thanks again. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it, Nate. My pleasure. Okay, my pleasure.